Okay, next. 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 Okay, go back.
Oops, sorry.
Yeah, you're good. It was to that one that I wanted you to go back.
This one?
No, go back. Did you save?
No.
Probably should. Because you know me, I'm about to get into some nonsense.
Freaking up.
Nonsense.
There we go. Okay.
Present the Asogi papers. Do it. Do it. Do it, you coward. One of these days.
The witness's last statement exhibits a fundamental inconsistency. Not one that... we've seen this exact same exchange.
Boring. That's boring. Half of the time I pick one just, for the sake of like, if I'm right, great. If not, it'll be funny. That wasn't even funny. Okay, go back.
Keyblade said, meanwhile, strong heart. Ah, fuck. There goes my dinner date for 8 o'clock.
Go back. Okay.
What are you thinking?
Press this one.
Huh. Are you thinking he wasn't a jock?
Yeah. I've seen his picture in the flashbacks. That's not a very jock build.
And you say you don't know who actually issued the directive? Aye, that's right. All I can be sure of is that it was official.
But it was from the prosecutor's office. Now it's now who could have been issued it straight away. And it wasn't me.
I can even say with certainty that it did originate from the prosecutor's office. What? There's no telling where it started. There's a fair chance it came higher up the ladder. Basically, I can't give you any indication of who was behind it. You can't be serious.
All we can say for sure is that the order must have come from somebody in authority, I suppose.
The likes of us on the ground, as it were, didn't even bother with idle speculation. We just get the job done.
Okay, press this one.
So, Mr. Vigil, you didn't know anything about it at all? That's right. My only role in the scheme was as a scapegoat. That's right, isn't it, Governor? Some poor beggar had to take the rap for it.
That's depressing.
like his entire 10 years of his life ruined.
Yeah, because somebody needed to take the rap for it. They couldn't even... I mean, I guess you can't, but, like, they could have given him, like, a severance package or something. All right, then. What else did you know about the...
I have not the first idea, laddie. My part of the whole business was basically just dealing with the aftermath. But I wouldn't be surprised if other folk in the prison service had been given similar orders. So you don't know who else was involved? Aye, that's right. All I can tell you. The night it actually happened, the person at the reins was Dr. Stevens. Dr. Courtney Stevens? Or Dr. Scythe as she's known now. Why did I have to get caught up in such a terrible business?
Press this one.
Like, we feel bad for Pavlova, but yeah, sure, she's gonna have to live with that trauma forever, kind of, but like, at least she didn't have long-lasting repercussions. This guy is It just sucks.
No, I think that Sholmes established that he actually told Pavlova and let her and helped her escape.
Yeah, but she's still gonna have to live with the trauma of being like chewed out and think she
Oh yeah,
killed
yeah, yeah,
somebody for like a full day, and
yeah, for
that's
sure, for
you're
sure,
still probably will have some PTSD from that. Like,
absolutely,
but like
absolutely.
her situation is still way better than this guy's.
Yeah, like his entire life was derailed, and he had to like live like a fake existence to make
And
ends meet.
and unless something's changing from what we last heard, he's also going to be arrested for pretending to be a
A
Scotland
police
Yard. Yeah,
officer.
which really that only happened because of his life got derailed, and he was desperate. Like,
Yeah, and that I mean, one crime doesn't excuse another, unfortunately.
yeah, I don't know. I don't think he should necessarily be held responsibility for that. He was a pawn of
Well, no, I know, but I'm saying
both
like
times.
in the eyes of the law, it's like
He,
the whole with that Jigoku, right? Like, yeah, like he was coerced into doing it, but he did kill somebody.
I mean, that's a little different. That he did willingly kill somebody.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's mostly what I'm saying. Like when I said that statement, like I
Yeah,
agree. I don't think daily vigils should be made to suffer any more than he's already have. But I'm saying, like in the eyes of the law, like that's kind of the premise, right? Like you did one. I don't know. Continue.
Did you not notice anything unusual happening in the led up to that night? Oh, everything was unusual. Exception after exception. After all, it was the professor, the man who had terrorized the country as never before with his crimes. In order to hide his identity, he was forced to wear an iron mask over his head.
Hideous treatment.
The fellow was surprisingly docile for someone who'd taken the lives of 5 of the country's nobles. Being the chief warder, I was the only person permitted to approach his cell. I can still hardly believe that I was duped by my own country. I believe you jumped from the window of the governor's office when the jailbreaker blamed on you, didn't you? Ryunosuke.
I believe he attempted suicide. It's like no, no. God.
So low EQ.
The worst human being.
Lost Vigil. I can't apologize enough. No, Governor, I don't believe you can. It won't change what's happened.
That's rough. That's rough. They're just both just like laying it on each other.
Yeah, but I feel less bad for Governor Caden.
No, I know, but it's like, oh, God, if I was in that room, I'd excuse myself. I'd be like, I'm done with this case. I know that I'm part of the judiciary, but I am bummed out.
Can we just burn Britain to the ground? This sucks. Whole judicial system.
Just throw it all into a fire. We'll
Everybody, every member of the judiciary, me too. Like, sure, all of us, just
immolate ourselves. What else can you tell us about the situation, Governor Caton? Let's open up emotional trauma. Let's open up emotional trauma.
I like that you're doing it to like, we're all gonna, what is the movies? What is it? Let's all go to the movies. The lobby, that's it.
Let's all go to the lobby. I didn't care if there was some negotiations between the convict and the prosecutor's office.
It kind of sounding kind of Cockney.
Well, you know what? I sound like I sound. I can't help it.
What are we doing?
I'm mostly confused about this one just because I didn't get this sentence.
What do you mean?
It means I don't understand, right? Like
I don't know. I don't know. It means I don't know.
There were some negotiations between the convict.
Yeah.
I didn't know if there were some negotiations between the convict and the prosecutor.
Yes. That is indeed the English translation.
I didn't kin. Next statement.
I don't know. I kind of like didn't Ken. I wish we talked like that. I wish you said Ken instead of no.
I mean, you would if you lived in Scotland.
I wish we all lived in Scotland, the entire world.
They still talk like that.
I wish we all
I
still
listen
talked
to
like that.
I listen to a lot of Scottish ASMR and like European accent ASMR, and they do talk like that still.
I know.
All I do is carry out me duty. I guess I don't want to press this one because it's gonna loop us into like chat, but like I'm just at a loss. Like I'm like I don't know necessarily what to do.
Well, there's 2 statements you haven't pressed if you still don't know anything.
Press the second one, second to last.
Press.
Yeah, so if we're gonna loop, we might as well loop after pressing all of them.
But you've already acknowledged that orders came from the prosecutor's office to arrange for the man's escape. There must have been some sort of negotiation. It's the only explanation. Aye, well, be that as it may, I didn't ken about that. The witness stand no place for telling what you don't know for sure. I ken that much I do.
Then I presume you also know this. Not telling what you know, criminal offense. So you were just following orders. Is that it? I'm afraid that will absolve your view of your guilt here.
A man was still killed illegally, even if he was a condemned criminal. He may very well be found complicit in murder, Governor.
And then you'll be murdered. Oh, sorry. I can't threaten capital punishment anymore. I apologize. So what's it going to be? Is it?
I mean, it's kind of been confirmed that they get capital punishment still, but well, at least for murder.
Even with a threat to conviction, you won't break your silence. Go ahead. Press it real good.
Well, you only had to press every statement until you pressed the correct one.
Is this the correct one?
Yeah.
I hate pressing the last one. I hate it.
You need to get over it, because then you just press everything anyways and then still press the last one.
I know. It's just, I don't like looping. Oh, it's so frustrating.
Did you carry out the plan in its entirety? I did everything I could at the time.
As you know, Judge Shinoshogi was shot dead in Logate Cemetery after the escape. Tell me, is that part of the plan too?
My instruction to get in the jail and nothing more. I can't tell you anything about what happened after that. Only, personally, I believe his death was the last part of the plan.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
Mr. Vigil, is something wrong? Yes, sir. What can I do you for, sir? He's saluting now. What is it, some sort of Barclay convention? What Governor Cato was just saying seemed to upset you. Did it bring something to mind, perhaps? For the last 10 years, I've completely blotted out the memories of that time from my mind. I was betrayed by my superiors in the name of my country.
Just as my father was betrayed at sea.
But you see, thinking back now, I really can't imagine that the shooting of Mr. Isogi in the cemetery was ever part of the plan. What makes you think that? Well, it just doesn't make sense, does it? To make the man admit to crimes he didn't commit with the promise of a jailbreak, only to kill him in the end. That's treachery of the worst kind. But the point is, if the intention was always to betray him, Why would there be any need for all the chicaneries of an escape?
Yeah, just kill him.
Ah,
Yes, that's quite true. Whoever negotiated with the Sogi never intended to keep his or her end of the bargain. It would have been far simpler to just let the man be executed in prison as dictated by his sentence. It all happened in the vast chamber of secrets that is sparkling behind high prison walls.
no, we're not making those references here.
We can't say it more than once either, or get lit. I suppose nobody knows what really went on in the execution room now. Yes, it's an unsettling mystery, certainly.
Truth be told, there's a wee mail that's never quite made sense to me. If you believe there was some kind of negotiation about the jailbreak between a Sogi and a body at the top,
A tween?
it doesn't quite add up, does it? It was a tween.
I don't know. I like that. A tween.
Governor Caden, I must insist that you explain these doubts that you have by amending your formal testimony. A single tween. Gods! Go on then. Seems to me that Japanese fella didn't have anything to bargain with.
Save. Present the Asogi papers. Finally!
Confessing under oath to murders he didn't commit on a verbal assurance of later being broken out of prison. Genshin Asogi was taking an incredibly risky gamble.
Very true. There's nothing to stop the British. There's nothing to stop the British breaking their word and executing him behind closed doors anyway. Under normal circumstances, no man would stake his life on a gentleman's agreement like that.
Which means that Mr. Asogi must have had a trump card. Something that guaranteed he wouldn't be betrayed. Some kind of weapon. Havers! The fella couldn't possibly have anything like that.
Havers.
Did you know that he did, Governor? The Asogi Papers, the name given to the last will and testament of Genshin Asogi. Ah! It turns out that Mr. Asogi was hiding his will in the cell at Barclay. Chief Warder Vigil caught it with him one day. You squealed, did you? Didn't I tell you to keep that secret? You can't touch me now. Gag!
It's literally touching him.
When Mr. Vigil caught sight of that through the bars of the convict cell, Mr. Asogi pleaded with the warder. Alright then, what's on that paper? Wait, yeah, that's you.
What do you want me to wait for?
Just trying to remember who his list was.
Yeah. A last will and testament. This will is the only weapon I have left now.
Weapon? And after the convict had been killed following the elaborate pretense of the jailbreak, that document mysteriously disappeared, didn't it? Well, yes, all the prisoner warders searched the belongings in his cell, but that will was just nowhere to be found. As I understand it, an exhaustive search was made for the document, which became known as the Asogi Papers. Governor Caden, I believe you ordered your prison staff to find it at all costs, didn't you? Would I be right in saying that you knew? You knew that the so-called Asogi Papers had the potential to make great waves somehow. Jings! What the blaze are you blithering about? What the blaze are you blithering about? The will was found right and proper in the fellow's cell where I said it would be. But how can that be? Where in his cell? We all searched the place from top to bottom. You didn't do a proper job, eh, Peely Wally Galoot? You sound echoey, by the way.
Hello.
Hey, hello. You can't criticize me now. Sure to your fault, I know, young lawyer. Yes, you did. I have the document here. It's written in Japanese and reads, "The last will and testament of Gen Shinisogi." Which means everything is as it should be. Not quite, my lord. You see, there's an undeniable inconsistency here.
What? What inconsistency?
Mr. Asogi described this document as the only weapon he had left. And yet this will contained nothing of significance at all. Nothing that would be given the convict any leverage.
Are you suggesting, my learned friend, that the last will and testament stored at Barclay Prison all these years is actually a fake?
It has clearly been demonstrated already. What went on in Barclay Prison was far from above board.
Why are they surprised? That's literally what they said.
The last vilification by the defense was an affront to the entire British legal system.
The defense didn't say that. The actual British legal system.
This absurd notion of a weapon is something for which we have only the former chief warder's word. The man could quite easily be lying, or at the very least, sorely mistaken.
You are sorely mistaken.
What? No, I definitely heard him say that, I swear.
Clearly, we need to get to the bottom of this. We should know exactly what happened with these so-called Asogi papers.
A waste of time. If the will was fake, where is the real document? Mr. Vigil was stabbed in the back by the judiciary 10 years ago. He lost everything, very nearly his own life. And now you're going to do it again. You're ready to brand him a liar and turn your back on him without even letting him defend himself. It's clear that Barclay Prison's hiding something.
It's clear that the jailbreak was masterminded by somebody in the prosecutor's office.
It's clear that some initial verification took place.
It's your lordship, she's going to glass out the ambulance. Something.
Sorry, it takes too long to talk in this voice. God.
Why did you even invite him? He can't speak fast enough to read the lines.
What did you say?
I said he can't read the
We
lines.
should hear more from the chief warder.
Have him testify again.
The trial must go on. The man's voice must be heard. It would seem that a vocal few here are utterly blind to the truth. Very well then, let the witness testify again. Tell the court precisely what you think you saw on the convict's last will and testament.
You can't read Japanese.
Yes, sir, my lord.
Asogi papers. More like Asagi paper.
As the warder responsible for condemned convicts, I attended to Mr. Asogi and kept watch over his cell. The night after he was found guilty in court, he was doing something with that will in his cell. We turned the cell inside out, looking for it after the execution, but to no avail. I only found out about the Asogi papers when I directed Kane telling me to impound them. The document was in the folds of the fellow's robes that were left in his cell. A kimono, I think it's called.
I would have loved him to just like perfectly pronounce it.
In his kimono. That's a lie. We searched every inch of the man's cell. We looked through all his clothes, even his underwear. It can't be true. We just satisfied will come alive at once, eh, you wee wet finger? There's nothing you can do about it now. You don't have any hold over me anymore. Other than the hold you would like to take on my cravat, of course. Is that what you're going to do, is it?
The cravat pulled itself.
I know, that really drives me crazy. I noticed that when I play too. Just like, because they're just using half of the same animation, but like...
Listen, he's that good of a ventriloquist. He's just that good.
He can fold his cravat as if it's
At
being
will.
pulled at an
He has a
abrupt
prehensile
angle.
cravat. Prehensile.
Are you going to give me a good shake again? Or are you too scared? I also just love the animation even without that. Like, I want to just go up to somebody to do that.
Are you gonna shake me? Are you gonna shake me? No, you're shaking yourself. I don't need to shake you anymore. What are you doing?
Little and large, with a double act. We complied with the Sogi's will as far as was possible. All of his personal effects were delivered to his family home in Japan. As a courtesy to the homeland of the most notorious killer our country has ever seen.
And we were much obliged. I can confirm that all my father's belongings arrived safely.
Aye, and you can deny the handwriting as that of your old man, eh?
Yes, there's no mistaking that it's father's brushwork.
Really? And this last will and testament was the man's last weapon, was it? I think we can safely assume that the convict was merely prattling, knowing that his end was nigh. So, counsel for the defense, your cross-examination, please.
Slip.
Yes, my lord.
Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. Okay, keep going. Can you press that?
And he pleaded with you not to report him, did he? Didn't he? Yes, that's right. Like the bumper, yeah, he didn't even tell me. A blame bit of trust, that was.
You didn't tell him anything.
I could see the man had a noble spirit. I found myself wanting to treat him accordingly.
But according to what you just told us 2 days ago, the convict had been strictly forbidden from having any writing materials whatsoever.
Yes, you're quite right. Ah, so when exactly was the will penned? That was before the man remanded in Berkeley, obviously. Yes, at the prosecutor's office under supervision of the relevant authorities. I personally instructed Asogi to make a will for the benefit of his family in his homeland. In that case, why was it found in a cell? What do you mean by that? Well, if it was penned at the prosecutor's office, you would have expected that it would remain there for safekeeping, surely. Ah! It's curious. There doesn't seem to be any obvious explanation for why it was subsequently found in the convict's cell. Ah, well...
The defense makes an astute point. Well, Governor?
A prisoner, Governor, can he be expected to ken the inner workings of the prosecutor's office?
In that case, Lord Strawhard, perhaps you can shed some light on the matter.
I'm unable to offer an explanation here and now. I would have to consult with the notary responsible for the will at the time.
Daily Vitch is like, well, Sherlock Holmes requested the notary to be present. And they're waiting outside as we speak. It's like, he thought of everything! The fact that my father's will was discovered in a cell is clearly consistent with what was expected. I want to know why.
Another inexplicable mystery, then. Well, the thing is about that will.
Okay. Keep going. Keep going. I'm gonna ask you this because you know how I feel about pressing the very last statement. Is it the pressing the very last statement?
I'm not going to answer whether it is or not. We're already. If anything, we need to stretch for time, so I'm not gonna steer you faster.
Okay, go back. Press that statement.
The statement?
Yeah. Oh, we're getting close to there being just not being enough time for the next stream.
I mean, I'm sure when it gets to 8, there'll be at least an hour of content. At least. So I don't want to really keep going, but it could be more than an hour.
Do you want to do you want to end soon and do the
No.
tier list?
The tier list will take longer than half an hour. The tier list we might do next stream if there's not enough of this. Like, in fact, I'm thinking we might do it at the start of next stream, so people that want to see the tier list but don't want to be spoiled could have a chance.
Yeah. If people want to see the tier list, and then leave.
Yeah, just in case.
Yeah, that's fair. And then if we end a little early, we just.
Well, if we get early, there's some stuff in the extras we can look at.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And the directive came from the same source as the one instructing you about the jailbreak. Aye, from the top levels of the prosecutor's office.
What name was on it?
I didn't ken afore, and I didn't ken now. All I can tell you is that my orders were to do everything in my power to find that document. The directive said it had to be somewhere inside the filler cell. Document. Was that the wording? Document, not will. Aye, that's what it said. Am I clutching at straws here? I just wonder if it was really Genshin Asogi's last will and testament that the sender of that directive was after.
Continue with your testimony then, witness. Go back. Okay, go forward. Press the last statement. Ugh.
Mr. Asogi's kimono. Aye, the one he brought with him when he was locked up. Yes, he was permitted to have his personal effects with him during his incarceration, I understand.
You know, it was until very recently that I didn't know that kimono wasn't a gendered item.
Oh!
Like, it was like a few years ago.
You thought it was like only for women?
Female. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, it's male and female.
Yukata was male, but it's like, no, kimono, like both men and women wear kimono.
I mean, I didn't always know that, but I must have known that for a while because I don't even remember when I first learned that.
It took me an embarrassingly long time, and it doesn't help that like the Persona games, which is like my barometer for Japanese culture at this point, I guess. Like usually when the women are the kimono, the men are wearing yukatas, so it's like.
Well, I think also that's kind of like a Western view of Japanese culture that, like, I think the Western view kind of has the impression that they're feminine.
Yeah.
Because, like, I noticed that in all media, really. And I think that's because, for some reason, they associate kimono with the more, like, more feminine, like, flowery designs and stuff. And
Yeah.
Okay. That's right. He was granted as much freedom as possible during the last few days before his execution. Shady said he learned that from his Japanese anime. Not from your Spanish anime.
Oh man, there's some pretty good Spanish anime out there. Let me tell you.
Hey, I prefer my French anime. Code Lyoko.
That's exclusive.
Ladybug and Cat Noir.
Yeah, Ladybug, Cat Noir, Code Lyoko, and what is the other? It's that movie recently about
Babar?
aliens that make pearls.
Aliens that make pearls. I don't know. Pearls before swine?
Valorian? Valorian, is that what it is?
DeLorean?
No, it's a. I'll look it up. I think it's Valorian. That's another French anime.
Shitty said, I mean, there's Chinese ones out now. And then he said, Wakfu is a French anime? I don't know what Wakfu is. Indeed, he had a number.
Valerian.
What?
Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. It's a French. It's a French graphic novel.
French anime. Or franime, as we call it.
What was the one that Shady said last?
Wakfu?
Wakfu.
WAKFU. He says he actually recommends it. That's really good.
Looks great. Keep going. It's on Netflix.
Oh, too bad Netflix is canceled. I'm not sure if you heard, they're taking away so you can't share Netflix passwords.
How can they do that?
I'm gonna track which household it's used, I guess, in maybe IP.
That's dumb.
They lost like their subscribers in the past year went down like 200,000, and so they're like trying to do that to crack down to get people to buy more subscriptions, which I think it'll do the opposite effect, honestly.
Oh yeah.
Like, because people are just gonna cancel and just get other subscription services they can share.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, as it stands, all these streaming services just become like individually pay channels now. You know, like there's just
Oh yeah, and Netflix no longer has like a like monopoly there.
Yeah,
people don't feel pressured to use that one. There's plenty of great ones out there.
Mm-hmm.
Shady said it doesn't help they also raise the price. Yeah, that's true. Like
they have been slowly raising the price. Yeah, Outcry's been telling me.
Yeah, I feel like Netflix is like digging their own grave right now.
They're jumping the shark.
Like they might salvage things, but not anytime soon. I think they're going to continue to decline.
Yeah.
So.
Netflix is going the way of Blockbuster, embarrassingly enough.
Yeah, Blockbuster had good reason to go that way. They became obsolete. Netflix is doing it because of their own stubbornness and greed.
Yeah.
Indeed, he had a number of items of personal significance, I remember. He was very reluctant to part with them. Some books, that kimono, his sword. His sword?
Kuruma, the famous sword of the Asogi clan, bears the soul of my family.
Oh, I didn't know that. I don't doubt it, but I wasn't really getting at that. Forget it being the soul of the clan. Could the man have had a more obvious weapon?
Have some respect, Ryunosuke.
Respect for silence. The warders carry firearms at all times. The inmates have shackles around their ankles. He couldn't have hurt anybody with that thing. Still, he was allowed a sword, but no writing materials.
Yeah, I already established that he uses blood, but like, I don't know why that's relevant right now.
The blood for what, ink?
Yeah, I guess it's like, I don't know. We'll get to it.
He wrote that will before he came to stay with us at Barclay, you see.
Because it, like it was written in red ink, and he didn't have any writing utensil, right? Like, long story short, I think that the sword itself is what has like the incriminating information.
It was written by the blood of the professor. All they have to do is DNA and analyze it.
DNA analyzing hasn't been invented yet.
They have to invent it. Thankfully, Iris.
Iris already invented it, but is not gonna get the credit for it.
Dr. Mikitoba was asked to bring the necessary Japanese writing implements to the prosecutor's office.
This is Zuri inkstone, black sumi ink, and some Hanshi rice paper, no doubt.
I was present when he wrote it. But I'm sorry to say, the letters just look like a squirming mass of jet black earthworms to me.
Wow.
A squirming mass of jet black of earthworms to me.
Earthworms, worms.
God.
Now, Daily Vigil's gonna be like, but it wasn't black, it was red. And then we gotta be like, oh, he used his blood!
Did they say it was red?
Yeah, the document itself said it was scribbled in red ink. Now you need to read the documents more carefully.
Do I? Where? I don't see anything red ink.
It was somewhere. Was it in the autopsy report?
What's wrong, autopsy?
Not Clint's.
Whose autopsy?
Yeah, Scarlet ink stains. Scarlet ink stains. I think that's what I'm referring to.
Yeah, that was on Clint Van Zeek's.
Yeah, so maybe that's why I keep thinking about it. But that's what I was referring to specifically. So I might just be barking up the wrong tree.
Are you feeling faint, Mr. Vigil? Mr. Vigil? Sir, it was Scarlet, sir. What? Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I didn't mean to blurt it out like that. Less swaying and more explaining would be helpful.
If it's something about the testimony we just heard, we recall something of importance.
Something of importance. Possibly, or possibly not.
I'm unable to tell which way he's leaning, I'm afraid.
My lord, the defense asked Mr. Vigil be permitted to supplement his testimony with this possibly or possibly not important detail. Permission granted. Go ahead, Mr. Vigil. Yes, it was Scarlet. As I remember, the document was written in scarlet ink, but perhaps I'm mistaken.
Press it, I guess.
Press it?
Can we present something at this point?
Maybe, maybe not.
Okay, then save. Present the Asogi papers. Again! Is it not these? We get buried!
every time! My lord, as counsel for the defense, must object to that last statement.
It's gonna be...
And as the judge, I must deny your objection. There is no contradiction here. Oh. No contradiction other than the fact that the Far Eastern lawyer is practicing in a British courtroom.
You're the one that allowed me to practice in the first place!
Put there by a not so far away Lord Chief Justice, if you remember.
Oh, there we go. Okay, redo and present Clint Van Zeek's autopsy report.
You're very tenacious with that, Will.
Listen, you could just show it. Be like, listen, this isn't black ink. This is not red ink.
Yeah, but he said he might be mistaken, is the thing. This?
Yeah.
Scarlet-colored writing is what you said you thought you saw, Mr. Vigil. And I believe that's exactly what you did see. What? Happens again! No evidence for that. You've no evidence to say that. Have a look at this report.
It's the updated autopsy report. That's my brother's autopsy report.
It's been updated. Yes.
No.
And there's something in there here that's bothered me since I first read it. It states that colored ink stains were noted on the fingers of the victim's right hand. It was bothering me, so I updated that part away from it.
I updated it, but without letting you all know, I didn't think it was necessary. oh, I have an updated copy of it as well. This magical scroll on me. So it does. I love that it's a pamphlet in one with a clipboard, and it's just a scroll on the other.
Well, it's just his scroll's the counterpart to Susato's book. Well,
Yeah.
they're both magic items that just have everything needed. The Scarlet ink.
It's what you wanted your D&D character to have. Who, ironically enough,
Yeah,
was supposed to be a
that's what I
professor.
want. That's what I want Alan to have.
Yeah. No, Alan doesn't deserve it.
Why? He speaks like 6 languages.
Only 25 words.
But they're the best 25 words. They're the fanciest.
It is the fanciest 25 words canonically.
Now, I'm not familiar with the habits of the British aristocracy, I freely admit. But I would hazard a guess that they don't all go around with ink stains on their fingertips, do they?
Your wits is not appreciated. My brother was a well-bred and fastidious man. Should ink had sullied his fingertips, he would have cleaned them immediately. Look at my fingertips.
What is your point, Counsel? My point is this. Whatever Lord Clint Van Zeeks was writing in that unusually coloured ink, it must have been directly before his death. Because he died before he had the opportunity to clean his hand.
Rionesca's trying to add some pizzazz to his
To
vocabulary.
cleanse his hand. What?
I remember something troubled me at the time. At the scene, the lid of my brother's inkwell was open. But Clint was punctilious about such things. It seemed unusual. And no document penned in the color of the ink that was in the inkwell was ever found. So the document had disappeared. Are you suggesting that the document my father had in his hand that night in his cell was...
The same document the Lord Clint Van Zeeks was writing moments before his death.
Then it was...
If Mr. Vigil's testimony is to be believed, it can only mean that, yes. Mr. Vigil. Sir. When you spattered Mr. Asogi with the document in his cell, his precise words were as follows, were they not? Alright then, but what's on that paper?
Last will and testament. This will is the only weapon I have left now. A last will and testament.
Ugh. If the conversation really did go as Mr. Vigil says, then what we now know completely changes the meaning of what Mr. Asogi said.
You really think?
Mr. Vigil did indeed see the convict with the will, but it wasn't that of Genshin Asogi. It was the last will and testament of Lord Clint Van Zeeks. Yeah, they're getting on the point that he said, it's a last will and testament. He didn't say it's my last will and testament.
Could you...
You missed the no before that.
No!
The no is Van Zeeks, but...
No! This is madness! I thought you were going to interject with a quippy reference to a movie that hasn't existed yet, but...
No, this is Patrick.
Subverting the expectation, I see, very good. My brother's last will and testament?
And you were about to say something about the, before they started outbursting?
Oh, I don't know. What was I going to say?
I don't know, I thought it was about the a will and testament, not my will and testament.
Oh, I was going to say, like, I don't think I could, like, you could offer me my wildest desire for me to recall the nuances of something someone told me 10 years ago, and I could not. Like, there's nothing you could offer me that would make me remember a
Yeah,
detailed statement
yeah,
10 years ago.
yeah, but he had PTSD from the event.
I mean,
Like,
yeah.
it probably deep-seated, ingrained in his memory every moment of that, like, last week.
Maybe.
Trauma do that.
Trauma team? Did you say trauma team?
Trauma do that, team.
Trauma do that. We gotta perform an endoscopy on this last will and testament. That would mean that the last will and testament had a butthole. That they have chosen to die.
That is what it would mean, yes.
No, impossible. That's utterly out of the question. Lord Von Zeeks. Clink was pursuing the professor. It consumed him day and night. Whatever happened, he would never have abandoned his investigation before conclusion. Never! He wouldn't rest until the job was done. Until the killer was caught. The idea that he would willingly accept his own death. It's obscene! And yet, we can be sure that he was writing his will moments before his death.
And that Genshin Asogi came to be in possession of that document. So what could the will possibly have contained?
Clearly something that couldn't be made public under any circumstances whatsoever. Because armed with that document, my father was able to negotiate with the judiciary for his life. It was something so damning that it prompted the powers that be to enact that daring jailbreak plot. Yes, there can be no question that the will contained information of the utmost secrecy.
Information of the utmost secrecy. Ah! No, it couldn't be. I've heard more than enough. Pursuing this notion of a phantom will nobody can attest to have seen serves absolutely no purpose.
He's not wrong.
But somebody could attest to have seeing it.
No, my lord, that's unacceptable.
What did you say, Counsel?
The last will and testament that Genshin Shogi had in his possession was that of Lord Clint Von Zeeks. All the testimony and evidence presented to the court has logically led us to that as a possibility. We have a duty to pursue the line of reasoning to its conclusion.
With no possible means of knowing the contents of the document, there's no line of reasoning to pursue.
Ugh.
A reason why Lord Clint Van Zeeks, a man of high noble standing, would have chosen death. Information so secret, people in the judiciary would be willing to negotiate the jailbreak of a condemned killer. The only explanation that fits those facts is an unthinkable truth that turns almost absolutely everything on its head.
Roll credits.
But it's just too hideous.
Mr. Naruto. However difficult the situation might become, you work with your client in pursuit of the truth. That's what you resolved, roll credits, to do when you entered the courtroom this morning, if I'm not mistaken.
God, so many resolves. Mr. Zada.
So hold your head high and keep soldiering on.
Yes, you're right. 10 years ago, in his final moments, Lord Clint Van Zeeks left behind a will. A will that Genshin Asogi was able to use as a weapon to negotiate his escape from prison. In all probability, the details in this will are related to the Professor case. The defense's last statement is mere conjecture.
What are you getting at, man? Ryunosuke!
As soon as these words come out of my mouth, there's no going back. I believe that the last will and testament of Lord Clint Van Zeeks was in fact... Should I save or do you know?
Save. An accusation?
Think it was an accusation?
I guess a report. I don't.
Make up your mind.
An accusation.
Obviously, it must have been an accusation.
An accusation.
Yes, revealing the true identity of the professor.
I don't think this is right.
Which would explain why Asogi took it, since it was he who was implicated by the document. No, in that case, the will wouldn't have given Mr. Asogi any bargaining power at all. And you're suggesting the accusation against some other person. No, if that were the case, the two men would surely have collaborated to pursue the culprit together.
Objection!
Then your whole argument falls down. Ugh! He literally objected to himself, to his own argument.
Yeah. Okay.
Ugh. Can I object to the penalty too? It's apparent that the defense's explanation has no real substance. This line of inquiry is dead.
Come on, Ryunosuke, I know you. You've seen to the heart of all this, haven't you?
Okay, now it's back to...
Okay.
To be fair, I clicked an accusation first too.
A confession?
Is that your guess?
I guess so. Yeah.
You don't sound sure, but...
I'm not. You can do this, Naruto.
I believe that what Lord Clint Van Zeeks actually penned that day was a confession.
A confession?
Regarding the mass murderer known as the Professor. And his true identity.
Objection!
Enough! Counsel. What are you saying? Do you even realize? A confession about the true identity of the professor. That would mean...
Lord Van Zeeks, I appreciate this must be hard to take in. But it's the only explanation that fits. The killer that terrorized London a decade ago and became known as the Professor. The man believed to have murdered 5 members of the aristocracy. Wasn't Genshin Asogi at all.
No, you can't be suggesting.
It was in fact the man believed to have been the 5th victim. Lord Clint Van Zeeks himself.
Wild.
And that is where we're leaving it off.
Wild.
Yeah. No music even on this end screen.
Listen, we padded out perfectly. That's a great cliffhanger.